When people walk into a game store, people do have expectations. And to get people to leave their house and come to your store, like, you have to have something, some sort of draw to get people. If you can't beat what GameStop's doing, stay online and keep doing what you're doing.
Mason is one of my favorite YouTubers for a few reasons, as we will discuss in this interview. So I ask you up front, pardon me if I'm a bit excited, because I've got to talk to one of my favorite YouTubers. Mason is the owner of CNA Games, aka Cards and All Gaming. He is based out of Louisville, Kentucky, and he is probably one of the most clear people when it comes to how the card industry is working. I think that he provides excellent insight when it comes to platforms like TCG Player, a platform that I'm very interested in and that we use in our business. He's also very good at breaking down the market, giving you an excellent behind-the-scenes look at what it looks like to run a business based around that infrastructure. He also is excellent at breaking down the logistical side of his business, and he does a great job of answering my many questions, which I give him a few fastballs in this interview. Guys, on a side note, this is one of the interviews that happened before I got sick, so I apologize if some of the timing is more based around Christmas or we talk about something that goes on early in 2025. But I am excited to feature Mason on this podcast. And if you are new to the show, be sure that you subscribe so you never miss an episode and share it with a friend. With that out of the way, here's Mason. Mason, welcome to the Business RPG.
Hey, thanks, Isaac. Thanks for, like I said earlier, thanks for keep poking me to get me on here. It's happy to do it. Happy to talk business with anybody and anywhere I can. So thanks for keeping on me and keep me finally available to show up and talk to you. I appreciate you. Thanks so much.
I appreciate you making time. And one of the things I like about your content is you're very good about breaking down information from your side as the business owner and just going over what the back end looks like, which that's the kind of content listeners know I'm crazy about. One of the questions I like to ask people who have a physical brick and mortar location for their store is why? Just there's so much content out there about never open a brick and mortar store.
Some of that content is me. Some of that content is I've literally made videos like that. We have been in business for physical location for 8. So, we kind of got in earlier than most, and we're kind of more established than most people that maybe want to start up now. 8 years ago may as well be a lifetime ago because of how things have already changed and kind of evolved as far as because we do retro video games as well and modern video games. So we do video games, we do all kinds of just nerdy collectible stuff. We've seen the rise of Japanese and anime stuff, pop culture kind of boom. So yeah, all that stuff is in the realm of stuff that I've never thought I would have actually carry. When I first started, we were just kind of, we were doing Magic and Pokemon, and then we were doing video games, and it kind of, it evolved to us wanting to do other stuff just because that's what customers wanted. So that's definitely a path that, being a physical store, if I was just doing it online, definitely wouldn't be into all these things otherwise. And yeah, I mean, that's, at the time, it was the logical thing to do. Nowadays, there's so many other different ways to do businesses, especially with trading cards. Yeah, it's a balance between overhead and expenses, and if that's what you want to try to do, establishing long-term connections with customers and having communities for these things, trying to help you weather the rough spots, which there have been definitely plenty of rough spots, and some games are still in rough spots. But yeah, that's the idea with a brick and mortar, that you have a place to people to come and gather. They expect you to be there, and have a spot that you always find you and come in and browse and that kind of thing. And obviously, that's getting more and more difficult as people buy more and more online, but there's still a spot for it. I think that, it's really a matter of just finding niches and finding unique situations and unique stuff that you can put in your store to make it more of an experience and like a shopping experience, as opposed to just, come in, buy your stuff, get out kind of thing. And this is the type of stuff that I I talk to people about when they come to me and they're like, hey, I do great online. I have a great TCG Player store that I run out of my house, but I want a brick and mortar. I'm like, let me try to see if I can convince you to not, because you'd be surprised at how well and how good you have it right now. So that is, it's a lot. Whatever you think it's going to cost, double it. And then when you add employees into the mix of it, any sort of oh, I'm going to hire these guys, they're going to do everything for me. Yeah, that'd be awesome. But it's not always the case. They call in, they're late, they have lives. Nobody's going to care about your business as much as you do.
Right.
No matter how much I pay somebody, it is just a job for them. And I have people that love the business, love the job, love coming in every day and doing it, but they will never care about the business and be willing to work 10, 12, 14 hours like I have. Here, not even like a long time ago. I'm talking like that's my reality sometimes.
Let's turn the clock back a bit, back to when you first started your location, because you just mentioned that there were advantages, and whenever you're having that conversation with someone, you're actively talking them out of it. Like in the reselling world, some people talk about talking themselves out of a deal as a litmus test for if they're actually going to invest.
Sure. Yeah.
What was it that you were looking for, and what was it that caused you to make the jump into brick and mortar?
It just kind of seems like the inevitable pathway, right? And like I said, 8 years ago, it was the pathway. I never lived through a pandemic. I never lived through, the idea of that I'm going to have to shut my doors to in-store shopping. That's never a thing that ever crossed my mind, right? You just don't, right? Louisville was a hotbed for lots of issues with Black Lives Matters and things like that, where I had to take precautions during that period, and a lot of things that, as a brick and mortar, you have to take care of things and make sure you're protected in that way. When I picture a game store in my mind, I don't like the ideas of having bars on the windows, but if you don't have bars on your windows, you have a lot of risk that you're taking these days. So that type of stuff that you have to prepare for, and things like that is definitely what you don't think about. And that's I don't say I'm talking people out of doing it. There's lots of people that have opened recent stores, hit the ground running, did a great job.
Good.
Had unique advantages, and that's not to say obviously there's not a place for it. There absolutely is. But I have seen, even locally, the amount of stores that have opened since I've existed and closed since I existed. That number is weighed a lot more in closed than open currently, by a multitude of probably a multiple of 3.
Wow.
You really have to know the area. You have to be in the right area. It has to make sense. That's all the things you have to think about. And at the time when we were going and sitting down and figuring out, okay, what's next for us? Because we were just doing eBay and TCG Player at the time when we were out of a little office building, and we were like, okay, the inevitable spot is to level up and go from an office building to a. It was a cute little. The guy said it was 700 square feet. I don't think it was 700 square feet. There was no way that store was 700 square feet. We had glass cases lining, the 2 walls down this shotgun of a like shopping center spot. It wasn't even a shopping center. It was like a parking auto body center, and then it had a small thing of offices off to the side that we had to store. But we had glass cases running down it, and then you could maybe put 2 tables up in the middle, and that was it. That was the size of what we had, and then we just had stuff piled to the ceiling, behind the glass counters. It was not great, but when you have that much stuff, you're like, okay, we have to. That's the path. The pathway is to growth is doing that. So. I do like to tell people to just weigh your options and just consider the other things, the other aspects of what you can do.
And I come out at the beginning of some of these interviews as if I'm against brick and mortar, and that's not the case. I am the person who on a road trip will stop when I see a game store just to stretch my legs for a while, and that's my ideal location, and I'm going to go in and see about getting something. But one of the things I wanted to ask you, and I've asked this question of a few other people in different industries that go into brick and mortar. what does it take to actually get started? Like, what is the threshold? What is that KPI that someone needs to be hitting in order to justify making the jump? Or does it even exist? Is it a gut feeling?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, you have to, it's going to be different for everybody, right? Like it's going to be, with me and my business partner, we were, there's two of us. We could do twice as much as a single person. And at the beginning, it would just be us doing it, right? So it's just like we have twice the manpower that anybody else otherwise would have, right? But we also have, our salaries and making it sense and making it, profitable for us. I worked a full-time job that up to many, many years into the business, I was working. I was doing, TSA at the airport. I was doing the security there. So I was doing early morning, 4 a.m. to about noon, and then I was from noon to 8, 9 o'clock at night. I was working at in the game store and doing stuff like that. That was my life. That was reality for a long time. So is that the path for everybody? Is everybody that committed? Are you that committed to, maybe if you want to grow and make it, leaps and bounds to where you're more stable? Do you want to do that and put in that work and not take a salary? Can you afford to not take a salary? That's the type of stuff that you have to really concern yourself with, and that's the thresholds where you're like, okay, what is your lifestyle like? Do you need a lot of, like, you have kids, you have a wife, you have a, secondary income? Do you have, savings? Do you have that type of stuff? Me and Zach did not. We started young. Of course, we have families now and kids and stuff now, but yeah, it's definitely it's going to be different for everybody for sure. And then, is that route the correct one for you? Could you stand out against what's available in, if you can't beat GameStop, like, you may as well just, that's your absolute, like, floor, right? If you can't beat what GameStop's doing, stay online, brother. Stay online and keep doing what you're doing, because that's kind of the threshold, right?
That's
I think
a powerful metric right there.
I mean, it is, but you don't have to be as big as GameStop. You have to be at least, when people walk into a game store, that's the type of stuff they're expecting, right? So we were definitely not as polished and nice and corporate as GameStop when we first opened our brick and mortar, right? But people do have expectations, and you have to, these days especially, to get people to leave their house and come to your store, like, you have to have some sort of draw to get people to come out, something that's unique. So think of stuff like that, and think of what you can do to set yourself apart to make it worth the effort to get to you. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the real thing.
So we talked some about Brian from Pokémon, and there was a question I asked him, and he got really, really excited. And so I was curious what your answer was going to be. There's a lot of IPs out there in TCG world, in gaming, and all these places. What is it that causes you to want to take a chance on a new game? Like what kind of research are you doing, or what kind of trends are you watching to see if something's worth your time and shelf space to invest in as far as a new game or product?
With TCGs, it's kind of an easier answer, because I can look and see, and I can see who makes it, who's developing it, the branding behind it. I can kind of determine before I even pick it up whether or not it's going to be something that's great. Bandai is doing a great job with the One Piece TCG. Definitely I cannot get enough of that game, just because it is so popular and doing so well. And that's definitely something that you look for, is, obviously a great IP. One Piece is definitely a big IP that was kind of missing a TCG, just because there's so many characters, there's so many different stories, arcs, backgrounds, different ways of playing that you can interpret 1,000 episodes into a card mechanic. Like, it's a fountain of playability and use. Whereas something like if One Punch Man made a TCG, I don't know if I could bet on that IP hanging around for, not because it's a bad IP. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying, what do you do with that? Like, what more can you do with a guy that one punches everything? Doesn't make for a great game, probably, right? So it's not a great, like, that's probably the best answer I could have gave. It's like something that doesn't work mechanically as a game for that translates. But definitely stuff like that where, good branding, if it's a game that Wizards of the Coast cranks out, sure, I'll probably take a chance on it. Something that Bandai puts out, some of their stuff's not great, but of course Hasbro had, Wizards of the Coast had the Transformers TCG that didn't do great. They might get another chance. That might be another one they might want to go back to, because that kind of has legs, I think. Just maybe didn't do a great job advertising it. But as far as like other stuff, like other products or something like that, definitely when people come in and ask for things, it's definitely something I do take notice of, because there is no greater thing when somebody says, "Hey, do you guys have this game?" And we're like, "Oh no, we don't carry that." Or looking for something, and they're like, "Oh no, we don't have that." And then I'm like, but I can be like, "No, I'll look into it though and see if I can get it." And then if I do carry it, somebody, and the next time they're in, they see it and they're like, "Oh shoot, you guys finally got this in, awesome!" And it's just like, I just made a customer for life, because I took that person's suggestion, I did it, and they're like, wow, they listened and actually got it for me. This is great. That's an experience that you can't get online. If a store doesn't have something online, you can't type and say, "Can you carry this?" Like, you're not going to do that. You just go somewhere else, right? But somebody locally walking into a place, they love that. That's obviously something that they really like. So definitely, people asking, "Hey, there's a new game out. Are you going to carry it?" Stuff like that. That goes a long way in deciding what kind of stuff I carry. But a lot of stuff is just, it's kind of like a natural with the nerddom sphere of the things that you can carry. D&D, anime, all TCGs, Gundam. If you want to talk about like hobby, like painting or 3D printing stuff like that, video games. All those things are in there's overlapping like Venn diagrams of that type of stuff. So the more stuff that I carry that overlap in a Venn diagram, the more potential sales I have, right? Because plenty of people walk into my store have no idea that I sell Gundam. We'll use Gundam as a great example.
Sure.
But they'll be like, "Oh shoot, they have Gundam, and they have One Piece, the ships from Gundam as like model kits, or they have Pokemon model kits. These are awesome. I didn't even know these existed." That I made a sale, right? All these things all these nerdy stuff that overlap. So it's always those type of things that, like, whatever's hot and new and kind of like the next nerdy thing. That's definitely like what I'm always trying to get a pulse on. Again, if people are coming in and talking about it, I'm like, oh, I better look into that, because that could be something I'm missing out on. That's always a good driving factor of, is it nerdy? Is it something that's kind of popular right now? And are people asking for it? Are people actually actively seeking it out? Because again, if they wanted it that bad, they could just go buy it online. They don't care. They wouldn't even think to come into the store, but they're coming to you because they want that extra little flavor, that extra little customer service, or maybe to ask questions, or maybe to get some sort of guidance. Brick and mortar in general, that's all the stuff is buyable online. You can buy literally everything I carry in my store online, and probably cheaper if you really wanted to seek it out and try to like actually like go and put in the effort to actually buy something cheap. But people want to walk in. They want the experience of talking to somebody about it. They want to nerd out for a little bit. They want to have the conversations of like, "Oh, what's your favorite? What's the best arc in One Piece? What's your favorite character?" All these things. That type of stuff adds to the experience. And I always tell my employees, temper, conversations. Don't have a half an hour long conversation with somebody, but at least always, let somebody nerd out with you a little bit and talk back and forth about it. One, because it's going to make your day a little better and more enjoyable, but also because that's the connection that somebody that's walking in to a store wants. That's what they want. That's what they're there for. They want to talk to somebody and talk about old 64 games, or they want to talk about the best version of Halo that's out there on 360. Stuff like that. That's why they're there. and that's just adds to the experience. And that's kind of trailing off from your question, but that's just another little thing that I wanted to add that I just now thought about.
So let's talk about some of the content that you've been making lately, because again, as I said at the beginning of the episode, you're very good about being transparent and presenting it from the business side. And I want to get into how you differentiate yourself from GameStop, and like you were talking about, convincing people to get off their backside and come in and visit the store. The way I found you was a series that you were doing on YouTube regarding TCG Player. I think it was TCG Player Direct. As much content as you could get on there, period. What percentage of your business right now revolves around TCG Player?
A lot. It definitely is a direct, especially helps us so much. And of course, we have robots that help us. They have Rokas that TCG Player has that sorts the cards for you, puts them in order for you. So you kind of just have to file them away and then ship them off to TCG Player. So that makes your life a little bit easier. But to have that kind of infrastructure and have that kind of setup, you have to have a lot of manpower. You got to have people that are, it can sort the cards for you. It can't condition the cards for you. It can't buy the cards for you. It can't package the cards for you. It can't pull the cards for you. It can't put them away for you either. So there's a lot of manpower that goes into having that sort of structure. So when people say, "Hey, this guy, what is he doing?" He has, like, currently we have 125,000 cards listed.
Wow.
And our floor for most of that stuff is 25 cents. And it's like, how is he making money? You would hope that after you put the infrastructure in place and you have, I'm just gonna be doing it better than everybody else. I can do it cheaper. I can do it faster. I can be more efficient than everybody else. And that gives me the edge. If you want to choose that path, you have to invest and kind of invest the manpower, invest the technology. We have one of the systems that we kind of pioneered was buying shelving from IKEA, and the type of drawers and things and pulleys the type of boxes and stuff that go into those boxes and those drawers to give you like an organization system that makes sense, and to kind of mock what TCG Player has in their direct program. Obviously, they have millions of cards in their inventory.
Yeah.
I'm going to trust them that they know what they're doing, because they've probably touched, for as many millions of cards I've touched, they've probably touched, tens of millions, I would imagine, between everybody that's there. So if they're doing something, I'm going to try to mimic them as much as possible, and try to, ask them, hey, how do you guys have it? How do you guys run direct? How do you have your stuff organized? Do you have dividers? Do you do dividers for sets? Do you have it alphabetical? Do you have dividers in between the alphabet just for A, B, C, D? How do you do it? All those type of things is that little stuff that gives me that edge, to gives me the ability to do things faster, cheaper, more efficient, and then capitalize on that. That's the type of stuff that I like making content about. Me and Zach have never shied away from blowing up the inventory, starting over, or investing money, sometimes multiple times over. Say, hey, this system I thought was going to be great. It's not great. I've spent $10,000 on plastic card dividers because that's, you got to have dividers for all these cards. I thought the bulking up series, I think, is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Where we kind of rebuilt our inventory back. That kind of gives you the week by week, and some weeks I missed, but to try to build up from where we started to where we are now. It's just interesting, and I think people would gain a lot of value saying, okay, let's see how, not a completely new person, he knows what he's, I like to think I have a little bit of knowledge about it for doing it for so long, but okay, if I wanted to start from scratch, what should I do? What kind of stuff should I invest in? What's worth it? What's not worth it? What can wait? I think that's what the bulking up series has really gave a lot of people, and I have had a lot of feedback from other sellers and people like that like TCG Player. I just recently did a partnered video with them because they all watch their stuff and kind of like see what we're doing and kind of see the setup that we have, and I'm getting attention from people even at TCG Player. So that's that means I'm doing something right? That people are at least noticing me in that kind of way. So, when you worry about every day, try to get a little bit better, a little faster, be more efficient. What if I did it this way? Is this faster? No. Okay, switch it back. How about if I did this? No. Okay, switch it back again. Rebuild it, break it down, rebuild it again. That's small business. That is the strength of a small business, because GameStop can't completely change how their store is built. They can't tear things down and retrain everybody to do something. I mean, they can, but it takes time, right? That's kind of stuff I can do. Hopefully not weekly, but if whenever I get a wild hair, or we sit down and we talk about, okay, what can we do better? I can implement that immediately and see the results from it and see if it's worth it or not. Sometimes that's to our detriment, because sometimes we get a little bit in the weeds, maybe, but we tried it and we have the answer whether or not it's better or not.
What about when you're talking about taking things down and building it back up? What are the KPIs or the metrics that you are assessing yourself on to decide whether or not you need to make a change, or if things are going the way that they need to?
Well, definitely isn't money, because we've definitely thrown a lot of money at things that didn't stick. But yeah, I mean, it's really, we have where we're at. I want to advance, hopefully, right? I want to get better. I want to get, again, those three things that give me a competitive advantage. I want to advance in those areas, and that's really what we're looking at. If I can't do anything, if I feel like something, like conditioning cards. Conditioning cards is very slow. There's no automated way to do it. There's no secrets. There's no cheats. There's nothing outside of teaching your guys very, very efficient ways to go through cards, and having them understand that I need them to spend the time on a $20 plus card, and maybe not so much on the 25-cent cards. So when you go and develop this process of, okay, where am I spending the most time? Or labor, or money, like all those things. How do I limit that? How can I get that better? And even in the Bulking Up series, when we had our discrepancy issues, we were talking about, on TCG Player, you have to have below, they like to say 2%. If it's above 5%, they really don't like you. But 2%, it should be around where you're expected to have the amount of issues that you have whenever you send in on direct. And that's when you have 125,000 things that could go wrong. That's it doesn't feel like a large margin, but it also, you have some room to clear if you have like a typical RIs for us are somewhere in between like 500. That could be up to 1,300 cards, maybe on a good weekend. So you get a little bit a little lenience there. So like, okay, where are our discrepancies lying? Okay, maybe they're on putting in the wrong card when we go to buy a card. Okay, so we use the technology that they have with Quick List. They have images. Sometimes these images pick up the wrong card. Okay, how do I teach my guys? Like to look at the top of the card, make sure the name is correct. Look at the bottom of the card, make sure that it's the right set number. That type of stuff. So coming up with, and I've made all kinds of like little worksheets and little cute things of like, okay, how does the card go missing? How are all the ways it can happen? Things like that. It's just, those are the type of things, again, when it's not you doing it, you have to make sure that people are understanding where issues can arise. They don't see the results necessarily. They see the process. I have to take the information I have from the results and share it with them for the process, so that we can make the process easier for them, or better results for us. And it turns out the discrepancy issues were actually twofold, in that it made the process better and it made the results better as well. So we actually won both ways that way. That's the management aspect that it can't be taught. It's got to be you putting in the hours, putting in the wanting to make that effort, and in a competitive situation like TCG Player on direct, it matters. Whether I sell a card for 10 cents or 5 cents, that matters. If I can be competitive with somebody that has a card up for 10 cents. I have it for 25, but somebody buys from me instead because I have all these other credentials, right? I'm on direct. I'm a brick and mortar store. I'm a gold seller, whatever it is. I don't remember what it is, but I have all these other things that give me the advantage. I don't want to lose those advantages. A lot of people, I'm sure with eBay, that you're top rated. You lose, you're top rated. That's a big deal. That's percentages that you lose. That's margins that you lose. You can't be as competitive that way. Same kind of things. Figuring out what is not efficient and going back and trying to correct those and make it more efficient, or if you have issues, how to fix those issues. That's the day to day in a situation like this. I don't know if we're a small business anymore. With 2 stores, you're probably a medium-sized business, right? I think I think I'm at 12 employees. So with my partner and me, it's 14 people. So that's medium-ish, right? So
in this industry, that'd be medium-ish.
Yeah. So that's the stuff that I'm working on day to day. I'm not working on checking out customers. Sometimes I am. Actually, it's kind of nostalgic when I go to actually go and check people out. That's kind of a nice feeling. But that's the type of stuff that is the higher level stuff that I'm working on day to day. I'm trying to get on different marketplaces, trying to get work with TCG Player and get in there like beta programs and stuff that for new softwares. We actually use their point of sales, the binder point of sales, which is with TCG Player. It's an absolute mess right now. Working with them, trying to get them to fix things, trying to nudge them ever so gently and maybe not so gently how to fix things and what they can be better with. They don't have that type of infrastructure currently. I can and happy to guinea pig whatever they want to.
So let's keep talking about TCG Player from the perspective of someone who's new. Why TCG Player? Because, there's eBay. I know that there are other platforms. I see some people even getting into selling on Amazon.
Amazon's interesting. I have interesting situation with Amazon that we are currently going through. Singles is not an ungated category on Amazon currently. Amazon is it's complicated.
It is complicated.
They give so many licenses or ungate so many things for certain things, and then they it's for a short window, and then once you're in, and then if you want to get in, there's no way to get in because they either don't want that category being added to, or maybe they want to move away from things because they're having too many issues, which is the situation that I'm currently in. Amazon's complicated. So if you're trying to get on Amazon and sell things on Amazon, that is a late stage of your business, not maybe your first starting things. I like TCG Player because they are very easy to sell on. You don't have to take pictures. You don't have to do anything as far as expectations from a buyer as far as what shipping looks like. Everybody on TCG Player more or less does everything the same way. It's very, very simplified. Their catalog is the best of anybody that's out there. You can list anything that you want on there, any smaller TCGs. You can list big things like Magic, Pokemon, or you can sell things like Cardfight Vanguard and still do decently well. TCG Player just gets the traffic more than anybody else, maybe outside of eBay, but they're practically the same business at this point because they got bought by each other. So you're kind of investing in both those businesses eventually maybe playing nicer together. Okay. So that's kind of where I'd like to see that happen, but we'll see, right? But definitely TCG Player is like the big dog in singles, card singles, especially playable singles. It's so beginner friendly too. You just go in the back end, you type in the card that you have, you type in how many you have, you say what condition it is, and it's up on and ready for sale. It just makes it so easy. And then they have the automation that a lot of other companies do not, like with the Roku, with QuickList. If you're a pro seller and you're not using QuickList to list cards, what are you doing? It's a big, the system just works, and it's just a nice ecosystem to list, no matter how big you are. So that's the strength of TCG Player. And they have the most people there. And they have direct, which is takes out a lot of the shipping situations that I used to have a guy that just shipped all day, and now I have a guy that ships maybe 30 orders a day and then packs the RI. And it's just how big and how much scaling and investing do you want to do?
What does it take to start out with TGC Player? And I don't mean as far as like getting involved with TGC Player. I mean more on the side of, if you're going to invest and approach this as a viable business model, what are the bare necessities that you really need to get started?
Well, not a lot, thankfully. And like I said, that's just kind of just how invested or do you want to do it? How many cards you have listed? There's probably people out there that just get those, plain white card boxes, have some just their cards listed. If they're listed, they're in the box, and they flip through every day. And whenever they sell something, they toss it in an envelope and ship it off. Right? You don't have to have a lot starting out, but TCG Player is just so nice in that you don't need a lot. You just need the product and maybe some. I have one right here. A couple top loaders and a couple of sleeves. That's my life as a game store owner. I just have that stuff laying around. Yeah. Other than that, that's what you need. That's $50 in supplies, some envelopes, and the product, and you can start selling.
It just seems like such a simple business model, because I talk with a lot of resellers and a lot of people who come on this show who deal in product, started out on eBay when they were in high school or college, and they just leveled up in one business avenue, and it just took off for them. And this is one that seems like it takes up very little time, very little space, but I'm still trying to gauge what it takes to be successful, because I see content on YouTube where people are just open up raw product, they start quoting the prices, and they say that's how they run their business. Then I watch people like you, and there's a big bulk order of raw cards that get put into a machine, and it's sorted, and that's how you pay your employees, meet your margins, and have built your business.
Yeah.
Is it really that versatile?
Yeah, I think so. And that could be also to the platform's detriment, Is having anybody able to sell on there, is that good for their brand? If somebody makes an account, maybe makes a bad seller that doesn't ship on time, doesn't have the cards that they say they do, list stuff, and then maybe they sell on Facebook Marketplace and then they forget to take off their TCG Player store, does that make does that impact their brand? Mm-hmm. Sure, to an extent, right? Because TCG Player as a website is only as good as the sellers that are on the platform. And I recently made a video about somebody his issue was specifically with conditioning, and people saying, if a card is near mint and they get it and it's moderately played or worse, and he's just like, I'm done buying from this platform because people just aren't truthful with what kind of condition their cards are in. They just put them in all in at near mint, and they let it ride. And if they get a complaint, they just refund them and keep on trucking. So that kind of stuff impacts TCG Player's branding as well. People that can't fulfill card orders and say, hey, you placed an order for 3 cards and you paid $5 for shipping. I don't have 2 of those cards. I have this one card. I'm going to ship that to you and refund the other ones, but throw out $5 on the shipping. That type of stuff happens all the time where, even with us, if we have maybe we have a card and we have a 20 card order, and one of those cards is $15 and the other ones are 25 cents. I don't have the $15 card. Okay. Is it fair to the buyer at that point to pay $5 shipping for the other 19 cards that were maybe $5 worth? That type of stuff can be a definite feels bad. And in that situation, we refund the shipping to them as well. So it's not at least they can go back and replace the card. That's one of the things that we just do. Not required to, not in the TCG Player terms of service at all. That's on us. That's something that we do extra because we don't want the negative connotations from that. One of TCG Player's strength is that they have sellers and they have every single card that's out there. For Magic, I guarantee you there's at least one listing for any Magic card that exists. Whether it's a Alpha Black Lotus to the most recent penny card. There is a seller on the platform that has that card.
Yeah.
something we think about too. What if people do stop buying on TCG Player? Maybe they go to eBay because they have pictures, they have photos they can reference, stuff like that. Things like serialized cards. I don't sell serialized card on TCG Player because it's a photo. You can't sell it without a photo, but realistically, people want to see the photo of the card, right? So at that point, why not just sell it on eBay? I'll probably have so many more buyers on eBay looking at a serialized card than TCG Player. So it's not a catch-all, but it is a genuine, good platform for the vast majority of cards. Absolutely.
So you have hundreds of thousands of listings on there, correct? Or cards on there, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So does that mean that every single card that comes across your counter, you are putting on TCG Player, or are you still filtering and going through everything and there's cards that don't end up going over there?
We have deduced where we want to put our focus based on a card's value. We are still working through a process of determining the quantity of said card. There could be a card that's $1 that we have 200 of, and just maybe doesn't see the sell-through on TCG Player. Okay, how do I know don't bother with that card, even though it may be $1? Because it's not selling. It's not worth the time to list, because I already have 200. Let me sell the 200 first. And if it takes me 2 weeks a card, a month a card, that's how many years worth of product to sit there. So it's just kind of like, okay, is that worth the time? So the easy answer is no. But the robots definitely help with as far as right now we do anything that's over 10 cents in lightly played condition market. We have determined has enough sell-through to make it worth the time to list it, because we can expect that card to move relatively quickly, or at least have a better chance of selling. Mm-hmm. And then we have a list automatically. As soon as the buyer says yes, we ship that list through to the system, uploads to TCG Player, it's up and listed. All I got to do is have my guys put it away at that point. The steps and the process of me doing things faster and more efficient than you is how I'm winning, right? And that's the strength of that.
So what do you do with the millions of cards that don't make it into the store? Does that go to the burn pile? Is it recycled? Do you send it to those big people who do take the penny cards?
We are conveniently pretty close to Troll and Toad, which is a at least good sized bulk buyer. So we could drive it to them as opposed to shipping it. That kind of makes it a little bit worth it. We have not done that, but we definitely have so many 5 rows worth of just otherwise sifted cards. Not worthless, but not worth the time to list and go through individually.
The impression that I get is if someone can find a way to repurpose bulk, then they have tapped into a market that will never end.
There's definitely an abundance of, not even just, there's bigger guys that have, tractor trailers full of them. They would be happy to move the bulk, but there's tons of stores out there that even just, I was telling some other sellers this the other day, that's, it may not be worth that store's time to go through that bulk, but it may be worth yours. That's opportunity right there for people that do just do this on a lower level scale, and they're okay with dealing with that. There's a YouTube channel called, I'm going to shout this guy out because he's great, Chase. He's TCG Bulk Kings.
I follow him too. Yeah.
Oh, he'd be great on here. You should get him to talk about, if you ever want to talk about cards. He's
actually on my list for next month. I was gonna give him a shout.
Brilliant guy, super cool. I've talked with him quite a lot. He is all about how to optimize the cheaper stuff, and he's got that down to a science. So he's there's opportunity for everybody, depending on how, wherever you deem it worth your time, for sure.
Well, we're getting towards the end of the interview, and there were just a couple other questions I wanted to ask.
Please, yeah.
One of the questions I like to ask people who have built up a following is, have you seen a net return on that investment that you put into building that YouTube channel or whatever other platforms you might have, where it's bringing in business in one way or another?
There is definitely, I would say, diminishing returns. When you talk about somebody like Brian from Pokémon, obviously he's very, very savvy about marketing, things like that. Because I am so bogged down in the day-to-day and sometimes the bigger picture stuff, there's not, like, I have a platform that has, I don't even know what I'm at, over 20,000 subscribers. I'm not using that to my full potential. I could do so much more with that if I wanted to actually sit down and actually grind out good content, daily content. Brian even talks about, and I don't think would be offended by me saying this, in these manic stages where he'll sit down and record 5, 6, 7 videos a night.
He wouldn't be offended at all. No,
just because he's got that itch and he's just, I can crank these out and then I have content for a week. I'm good. So I love Brian. He's a good dude. I would love to. I would enjoy it. We are kind of imprisoned by our own success in all of the day-to-day things that I have to keep up on. That I'm not doing enough with that, and I know I'm not. But there's plenty of opportunity, especially during these booms. During good periods. Magic is in a good period. A lot of content about Magic is popping up and being more popular. The ad revenue isn't amazing, but if you get a video to pop off and get 10,000-ish views, it's a decent amount of money. It's not, I would say worth the time, and then you get all the auxiliary views and clicks and things on your website and whatever. As this market has grown and grown up, I would say grown up, not just grown, but grown up. There's a lot more players, a lot more people that are, again, cheaper, more efficient than me at this point, right? So they win, and that's just that's the way it is.
That's an interesting point. Well, part of what we do is it's a production business. This is my podcast, but we produce podcasts for a bunch of other people.
Sure, yeah.
And that's always part of the conversation that we're having with our clients, as far as how do I leverage this, whether it's marketing, whether it's content-based networking, whether it is connecting with my local community or abroad to grow that client base. And it's always interesting to hear how it's impacted other people, and how for some people, I guess, kind of like you're saying, a diminishing return. That's an interesting way of putting it.
Maybe not the right word to use. Is my time better used making videos than it is working on the business and other aspects of the business? I guess is really what it comes down to. You could probably make a case either way, right? But just right now, I have so much. I have so much I'm doing. I just had 7 TCGs release a thing in this month alone. I'm trying to do all that stuff and run 2 stores and keep that organized and keep them staffed and keep them running. Going into the holiday season, I got a lot. I got a lot I'm doing,
yeah.
And I love making content. I love to stay after and shoot videos and do all this stuff. I have 3 videos on my phone that I need to upload, and just it's at this point it is just out of the love of doing it, and kind of knowing that I have a platform of people that do appreciate it, and people that reach out to me, and I do get connections this way out of it. So there's it's not all. I'm not saying it's a waste of time by any means, but there's definitely ways that I should be leveraging it, and I'm not.
And to be fair to you, not every single person who's making content is also having to run a store for 14 hours each day.
That's fair.
It's a very valid point as to the immediate return on investment for your time, and that answer has to be different for each business, not each business model. It's each business that has to be a unique answer.
Just to keep blowing Brian's horn, but yeah, I mean, Brian, he's at home, he's surrounded by stuff. Maybe it's not a release a week or whatever, and yeah, why not make content? Why shouldn't I be making content right now? What else could I be doing to and I'm sure he's plenty busy. I'm not trying. He's got all this free time. He's obviously that's not true, but you know, it's just a different beast. He's running a different beast than I am, and I need to be doing what I'm doing on the back end to make sure things are staying positive.
Exactly. That makes perfect sense. One question I really would like to get your opinion on is the future of this industry. I've had some doom and gloom answers. I've had some the future is bright. I'm excited to see what happens. What's your take on the future of the industry that you're in, between the gaming, between TCGs, between, you could say, nerdom in general? That's the term that I use.
It's complicated. You know, video games are kind of in an interesting spot. You know, the death of physical media, but then also servers shutting down and you know, things like 3DS market going down and games skyrocketing in that category. I think the last person you had on, we're talking about the 360, the marketplace on 360 closing down, and now the 360 games that were mass produced, sold by the tens, 20 millions copies sold, and you know, they've gone up in price for a now 3 generation old system. It's who knows on that front. Video games is tougher. I think a lot of the people that, you know, were doom and gloom about TCGs when, you know, Magic came out with their online client and Pokemon came out with the online client. Now Pokemon has Pokemon Pocket, which is another like watered down version of opening packs.
Mm-hmm.
The action of opening packs has now been, and you can simulate it and do it outside of a game store and for free, right? Well, unless you want to go crazy. And at the same time, they're hand in hand, they're booming together. But who knows next year, right? Or who knows in the future what could happen? At this point, you know, being a 10-ish old company, I feel like whatever it is or whatever pivots need to happen, that we're at least equipped enough or will be on the edge enough to know when it's happening to change and pivot or do whatever else that we need to do. You gotta move with the ups and downs. We've gone in and out of board games and carrying board games. We were pretty heavy into board games. Now we're not. We don't do any board games because you know, these companies are selling on Amazon and cheaper than me. Why would anybody come into a store and buy it? You got to keep moving. Got to keep pivoting and doing what makes sense to you. That's really what brick and mortars and the future of nerdy stuff in general. That's what we got to do to stay relevant and keep the businesses alive.
Well, tell me about your goals. What is it that you'd like to see done in the next year? What are the goals that you have for CNA?
Like realistic ones or like pipe dreamy ones? Because there are very different ones. But
give me a couple of both. Let's go both directions.
I've never seen a card store with a hot tub in it, but that'd probably be like, no, that's silly. Let's not do that. Humidity with cards is not a great thing. Let's not do that.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
That's a silly idea. Let's not do that. The things that we do well, hopefully we continue to do well with and continue to capitalize on. And the things that we maybe aren't doing so well on, I would love to either exit them or find a way to get out of them and kind of, you know, double down into getting what really does work for us. You know, maybe I lean into more of the Japanese import stuff. Stuff like that would make more sense to me. It's things that, you know, people that want the real deal and maybe the more exclusive stuff, they can come in and find it locally so they don't have to buy it online. That type of stuff is that makes sense to me. There's so many options. And so long as you kind of think of the way, okay, what would make me come out to a store? What would make me want to make a drive across town, which some people are, you know, to go to one of our stores? What can I do to kind of draw people that is different? That's what kind of stuff that I would like to keep moving into and making it a more of a destination type of store. I just hate the idea of somebody walking in and being like, ugh, this is the same stuff they've had half a year ago when I was here. I hate that. I hate the idea of becoming that. So yeah, keep changing things, keep trying things, keep turning the knobs that we can and just make the store better and kind of like a more fun experience for people. That's the goal.
Well, Mason, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you coming on and being transparent and straight with us and giving us your insights.
Well, I don't know about straight. We kind of meandered a little bit. We kind of went down some weird paths. I don't know about if it was a straight shot or not, but I'm always at least candid with all my answers. Absolutely, I love that.
That's an accurate way of putting it. Candid. That works good. Where can people find you if they want to keep up with what you're doing?
Yeah, like we talked about earlier, I have a YouTube channel called CNA Games. If you guys want to hop on there, again, I talk about running a game store, running a TCG Player store, kind of like ways to refine that type of stuff. Probably going to do some more Pokemon videos here and stuff like that. We also have a website, cnagames.com. Again, you can buy all those great things like video games, trading cards, sealed product, things like that. If you want to support us, greatly appreciated. We love everybody that does. And we're on Instagram too, Facebook, all those places too. But those are kind of the main things that people can always check us out and see what's going on with us.
Perfect. And those links will be in the show notes down below. Mason, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah. We'll have to do it again. I hope you'll have me back on, because this is I love to just gush about this industry, because it is if it wasn't my passion at this point, I don't know what I'm doing, but I've spent a lot of time doing stuff I wouldn't like, but no, it is. So I do enjoy it. It's a lot of fun to sit down and talk shop with people. I love it.
If you enjoyed today's interview and you would like to follow Mason, you can find his contact and his YouTube channel down in the show notes below. He is on Instagram, YouTube, and he has a website, which I'll also link that as well. New episodes are going to be coming out on the monthly, guys, so be sure you subscribe so you never miss one. And with that, we will see you next time.